All right, mourners have turned the scene of Saturday's deadly ICE shooting into a memorial for Alex Pretti. Now, state and federal officials are clashing over evidence from the crime scene. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to not destroy or alter evidence related to the shooting. And joining us now is Jeff Day from the Minnesota Star Tribune. Jeff, thank you for your time today. You reported that state investigators were blocked from getting access to the crime scene after federal agents left. So where do two things stand now with the state and also the local investigation?
Oh, first off, thank you for having me. Where things stand now is that there are numerous court hearings being had today in federal court. It continues to be two separate investigations, the federal investigation that is being carried out by the Department of Homeland Security, and then state investigators have begun conducting their own independent investigation. But that largely began yesterday on Sunday, around 24 hours after the shooting. And the reason for that delay was because what is known as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which is the state organization that conducts use of force investigations, any kind of shooting involving law enforcement in the state of Minnesota, was denied access to that crime scene by federal officers, despite the fact that they were given a judicial warrant to access the crime scene. This is what has led many people in this state, law enforcement, political leaders, to say that we are in an unprecedented, uncharted territory right now, because the normal working relationship between state investigators and federal agencies, which has been longstanding in the state of Minnesota, is not operating under those norms right now.
And for those who might not understand, why is it important for officials to get to that crime scene early on after a shooting or a situation like this?
Well, most importantly, you're trying to secure evidence. You're trying to do witness interviews. You're trying to look at a crime scene. You're trying to, if there's shell casings, if there's DNA evidence, if there's security, surveillance footage, things of that nature, the immediate aftermath of a crime is obviously an essential area for understanding what happened. I think another element of this is that because the federal government has been sort of saying that they are going to conduct their investigations and not include local law enforcement, it has created a real sense that state agencies are not going to have access to a criminal investigation involving a shooting and killing that happened on their streets.
Yeah.
And while the federal government might have jurisdiction, that does not preclude the state from conducting its own investigation. And again, this is why for decades, the working relationship between the state and federal law enforcement agencies has been one of cooperation and coordination.
And we know the shooting set off more anti-ICE protests as state and local officials and even businesses had hopes to de-escalate tensions out there. Are more protests planned for today?
The main thing that we're hearing about is more of peaceful demonstrations. There has been continued presence of people, protesters, citizens at the Whipple Federal Building, which is where ICE has been headquartered for the most part during this Operation Metro Surge. But largely what we're hearing about, including out at the Minneapolis VA, which is where Alex Pretti worked, or at the scene of the crime, is one more of memorials. There is not any kind of coordinated protesting plan for today that we have heard about. Last night there was a small amount of property damage that was done in Dinkytown over by the University of Minnesota when a small group of protesters appeared to break into a hotel, but that was largely contained quickly. For the most part, this has been a peaceful response in Minnesota to what has taken place over the past 3 or 4 weeks here.
And Jeff, I want you to speak to what things are like out there, because I think people who watch the news or hear the story, they think, oh, protesters, people are out there destroying property and things like that. But as you just mentioned, it seems like there are actually plenty of people who are coming there more of in a sense of memorial and more of in a sense of community. So can you speak to the temperature out there?
It's important to note that Minnesota has been dealing with a lot of tough news stories over the past number of months.
Yeah.
We had a political rampage that involved the assassination of a state politician. We had a school shooting that took place in Minneapolis. Operation Metro Surge has been the latest thing that has sort of unmoored the state. And it has been a unique situation for citizens here because there is a lot of what I would call citizen engagement in this. People are paying attention to when ICE enforcement is taking place, and many citizens are going out to either document or protest that action because I think there is a general sense of fear and paranoia for people of color in this state that they are being forced into hiding. And so because some of the arrests of ICE have they're done in a way that doesn't always elicit transparency. And so citizens of the state have felt the need to go out and document that. That can lead to then, if something happens, for instance, a shooting or a killing, which has happened twice now in 3 weeks, that can instantaneously turn into a massive protest, a quick organization of people on the streets. Those sort of impromptu things are different than, in Minneapolis on Friday, there was a massive organized protest, a labor strike that brought thousands of people to downtown Minneapolis in a coordinated fashion. Yeah. The temperature in Minnesota right now is one of concern, uncertainty, a feeling of not hard to track where this goes next. And I think because of that, you have a lot of citizens that are, if not on edge, at a bare minimum, feeling like they do not know what is happening in their hometown, in their home state.
Wow. Okay. Jeff Day, thank you again for joining us today on 24/7. We really appreciate your reporting.
Thank you very much.